What's going on, Boulder? We got to ask this question. Is ball padding really that serious? I dropped a video yesterday talking about a couple of NFL players going back and forth in regards to Shedeur Sanders and him patting the ball. And is it that big of a deal? Well, it appears here on Monday, it has decided to take a life of its own. And so there was a conversation that just was had over on Good Morning Football that I thought was very intriguing for you all. You got to hear it. We'll talk about it and break it down. But also on top of that, NFL Insider in Rapoport, good old rap sheet, had a fascinating and pretty crazy story about Shedeur Sanders and the level of maturity that he believes that he's going to bring to the NFL. We'll play that clip as well. He did that today on the Pat McAfee show because we got to talk through this because it's very interesting. So let's dive into that here on the Prime Time for College Football. First and foremost, let's jump into this Good Morning Football rant, I guess you could say, by Kyle Brandt, who dropped the rant. Kyle Brandt, very funny. He really goes in on all the naysayers and the haters. Listen to this.
I thought this pro day was revelatory. I think my huge takeaway is I don't think you can draft Shedeur Sanders because he pats the football. I think he'll be undrafted all through 7 rounds. There's no possible way you could draft him. Bring up the videotape, guys. Irreparable damage to Shedeur Sanders' reputation as a football player, as a human being. Just watch. Right before he throws, if we can see it, he does a little tap. 1/16th of a second, he pats the ball. And I think you have to take him off the board. Not the first round, not the first. He's going to free fall and end up going into a different line of work because it's not just me saying that. It's not a straw man. Go ahead and go to the social media component. We had high visible players. Andre Sisco, not with the Jets. Boy, better stop patting the ball. We're breaking on that early, okay? And then Darius Slayton on the Giants is trying to defend him, but Micah Parsons comes in. You realize that pat on the ball could be different between a sack or throwaway completion. Again, I don't think you draft Shedeur Sanders because I did the research, guys. There has never been an NFL quarterback who pats the ball who's had any success in the league. I even have videotape. Bring it up. Bring up the videotape. All the guys who pat the ball, like that guy never amounted to anything. Give me more. It's not just a one-off. Matthew Stafford is a pat right before he throws, has never done squat in the league and never made any money. This guy doesn't have a bright future. Look at the pat before the giant deep ball. Again, you can't draft Shedeur. Josh Allen, what, he won MVP? Pat before he throws the ball. Brady, again, he actually played for a team called the Pats, and he's patting. Rodgers, watch, pat, get out of here. Guys, I'm going to go back down to planet Earth now. You knew that after Shedeur's workout, showcase, spectacle, whatever, circus, whatever you wanted to call it, there were going to be takes and there were going to be daggers and there were going to be critics. Even if someone didn't have any criticism, they were going to make it up just to resonate and just to be heard. And that's going to be the Shedeur story at the draft. And when he starts week 1, whatever it may be, there's going to be criticism just for criticism's sake. But standing there watching him, patting the ball before he throws and saying this is going to be a big problem and he's going to break the rookie interceptions record is stupid. It's doing it just for doing its sake. Look at what I just showed you. Don't do it. If you have honest criticism, then make it. But if you're doing it just to do it, stop. Because you know who else pats the ball? Cam Ward pats the ball. And I watched his pro day, and none of you guys said squat. You're saying it because his last name is Sanders, because who his father is, and because you know it'll resonate. He pats the ball just like Josh Allen does, just like Tom Brady does, and on and on and on.
So he's basically said the same thing I said to y'all in that argument between Micah Parsons as well as Darius Slayton. It's stupid. It's probably one of the dumbest arguments I've heard out there. Granted, I understand why everybody's having this argument because they're only having it because of one person. They're having it because of Shedeur Sanders. The name Sanders in the back makes it something worth talking about. And as you heard Kyle, he broke that down because that's really what all this is. It has nothing to do with anything about Shedeur and his gameplay. It has nothing to do with Shedeur and his ability to play the game. It has everything to do with Shedeur being a Sanders. And so because he's the biggest headline, it makes sense for everybody to jump in on it. Heck, like I said, we're talking Prime and the family all the time here. But I just thought it was pretty wild that Kyle had to go off like that because it makes me remember like the Chris Carter story. Because first off, before I can go to that, Shedeur even told everybody, look, if you're looking for a game changer, a person that will change your culture, change your franchise, your organization, don't skip over. You'll regret it, because that's what he's about. And more stories are coming out about Shedeur to where you're like, he may be just as tuned into that as more than people would even expect. He jumps and he talks heavily about how he wants to be that dude that changes the culture of a franchise, and we all appreciate that. And so Rapoport over there at the NFL Network was on Pat McAfee today, and he dove into that. Let's take a listen.
Well, a couple things. I would agree with what Shedeur said afterward, and he's talked about this publicly before. Like, he is in the spotlight, everything he does, no matter what, more than any other draft prospect. It's not like unprecedented. There's a couple of these draft prospects every year, but it does seem because of his last name that it's ramped up a little bit. So I want to tell you guys a quick Shedeur Sanders story, and I mentioned this during our Combine coverage on NFL Network. So the lead up to the Combine, I was trying to figure out what Shedeur was going to do at the Combine. Was he going to throw there, or was he going to wait for his pro day? So I contact someone who kind of works with the Sanders family, and I say, who's the point man? Like, he doesn't have an agent. Who's kind of the person that media talks to, so I could figure out if he's throwing? And the response I get is, Coach will contact you directly. And I'm like, Coach? Okay, well, there's not that many coaches. I'm like, would probably be Deion, but that's kind of strange, but okay. 5 minutes later, I get a FaceTime from a number I don't recognize. I answer it, obviously, Deion Sanders, which was fun because I had my kids in the car and they got a big kick out of Deion Sanders FaceTiming.
Dan's famous. He's got Coach Prime calling.
Right.
Yeah,
This
yeah,
is a
yeah.
total.
What about?
By the way, Max then told people at school and they were like, yeah, sure, Max. Pretty funny. But anyway, so he's like, what do you, like, what's going on, Rap? What do you need? And I'm like, I want to know what Shedeur's doing. He goes, hold on one second. Gives the phone to Shedeur and he goes, talk to Rap Sheet. And so we talked, told me what he was doing, told me why, explained the plan, and talked about a couple other things that he was focusing on the next couple weeks. Hands the phone back to his dad, and he was like, you good? I was like, I'm good. And it was just an unbelievably mature, level-headed, grounded way of handling what could have been a huge issue, but like Deion wanted to make sure that Shedeur handled it himself. And I was like, this is not normal. And so like whatever comes at him, like, this is someone who really is trained to handle all of it, and I was pretty impressed by that.
So as I was talking about before, the Chris Carter story about how Shedeur's driver picked him up, drove, and talked about how Shedeur prepares for games. Like, keep in mind, Shedeur and Coach Prime had zero knowledge that Chris Carter was going to have his driver, but the driver just telling stories based upon what he's observed, and people observing that. And then Rap Sheet getting that call from Coach Prime 5 minutes after asking the question about what Shedeur's going to do at the Combine. And then he's getting a detailed like agenda and plan and, basically a business plan of what he plans on doing. That literally makes it to where like, Rap Sheet's like, hey man, he's built for this. He's built with the personality. He's built with the capabilities. And there's nothing about Shedeur that doesn't say that, hey, he could probably go out there and do something crazy. I just thought it was wild that it's taking all of the, it's wild to me that it's taking all of this for people to come out and say, nah, man, I think that there's something here to it when it comes to Shedeur and his maturity. And there's still people nitpicking every little thing the kid is doing. Like every little thing possible, people are nitpicking at it. Why? Again, we understand his last name is Sanders. So it totally makes sense why everybody's doing it. While at the same time, it's like, for what value? Where's the value in doing this over and over? Because there really isn't any. While at the same time, people are going to do it. So I want to tell those. I thought those stories were really good. And I think to me, overall, Shedeur, who probably won't go top 5, it sounds like teams may be moving around when it comes to that. But that he's going to change a franchise. It's going to do nothing but put a chip on his shoulder for him to go into the NFL and be something. And of course, we're going to cover it here on the prime time. We're going to keep following him and Travis throughout the NFL. We'll have updates about how they're doing and all of that. So Let me know what y'all think. Hop in the comments. I want to hear from you all. So a little something happened, a little behind the scenes video popped up of Prime, kind of losing it a little bit on a scout and throwing people off. We'll drop that video sometime tomorrow for you to check out because I thought it was an intriguing one. And we'll also talk about the battles in the depth chart sometime this week when I get back in town. So make sure you hit the like, subscribe, bell notification, get us over 31,000. And we'll talk ball real soon.